Welcome to Small Arm Solutions. Today we're looking at the XCR Model M. M meaning this is the 308 version. A little while back we did a video on the XCR-L, which was the 5.56mm base platform. If you haven't seen it, I certainly recommend you go back and see it. To give you a little bit of background on this family of weapons, this was originally designed for the SCAR program, for modular weapons design, which in every way it absolutely is. I mean, it perhaps even predates some of the more modern rifles we might want to call modular. Now, the original rifle was based off of a 5.56mm platform. It is a long stroke piston system. It uses a very different locking mechanism than the AR. It's still a rotating bolt, but it's a little more, a little different. We're going to take this thing apart. We're going to get into that a little bit. Since many of you may not have seen the original video, we're sort of going to go from scratch on this one to show you the different features. But I do want to bring up the fact that this comes from the original XCR, which was chambered in 5.56. The barrel was removable, and it could be swapped out very easily to 300 blackout, 7.62 by 39, which both calibers Robinson Armament does have conversion kits for. But they've also done conversion kits in 6.5 Grendel, 6.8 SPC. You can very easily do a 5.45. In fact, anything that takes an AR-type magazine, you can very easily do a conversion, whether it's just a conversion of just the barrel, or whether it's a conversion of the barrel, magazine, and bolt, or barrel and bolt. You had so much modularity there to change the gun into a different configuration. So you have the caliber versions, then you have different barrel lengths as well. You can go to the short 10.5 type inch barrels, or you can go to this one here happens to be a 16, 18, 20. You can go to whatever barrel length. If you're looking in more of a close quarter battles, you can go to shorter barrels. You want more of a longer range, you go to longer barrels. So we're going to go right into the XCR-M. This particular rifle was built based off of the 7.62 system. Now, anybody who's designing a military firearm, it's always good to have both platforms, one in the 5.56 platform, one in the 7.62 platform, that are identical. So you can switch from rifle to rifle. Your muscle memory remains the same. Everything remains the same for as far as disassembly, reassembly. It's the exact same rifle, but it looks like it's up on steroids. And Robinson Armament offers that. They offer the 5.56 version and then the 7.62 version, and they are the exact same. There is nothing different about them other than the size of the barrels and the size of the receivers to accommodate the larger calibers. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the receiver. This is what people like to refer to as a monolithic receiver, meaning it's one piece. And what we have here is a barrel that is held in place by a set screw. There is a tiny groove in the bottom where that indexes, the screw indexes with that. And what that does is once you loosen that up, barrel assembly will slide out. And taking a look at a barrel assembly, you'll see the gas regulator is all part of the system. You have a receiver extension, much like that of a M16 or an AR-15. You do have your gas block, which is held in by a set screw. This is one of the issues that I did have with the rifle, but according to Robinson Armament, they're not having any issues with these things coming loose. So perhaps they're doing some tapping in there so it can't move forward. But this is normally a thing that I prefer to have pinned on myself. But you also notice we have a gas valve. This particular gas valve is very similar to that of an FNFAL, where it has multiple settings. Now, those of you who are not familiar with adjustable gas valves, this is a big thing with these rifle systems. Now, I've seen a lot of reviews where people say these rifles don't work because they short stroke or whatnot. That's because they don't know how to use the gas systems. We're very accustomed these days to self-regulating systems. Kalashnikovs, most of the ARs, actually most military assault rifles these days, they go with a self-regulating system, or they'll have a valve that goes from suppressed to unsuppressed. Well, this is not like it. This is more like the FAL, where what you would do is you have your ammunition in the environment that you're going to be in. You're going to go ahead and you're going to close it down, and you're going to fire off one shot, and you're going to keep opening until you get that bolt to lock open on that magazine. And then you're probably going to want to go one or two clicks past that. You basically want just enough gas for the rifle to cycle, and then a little bit more. An overgassed rifle has a couple issues. First of all, it wears the parts out prematurely. It also can affect your extraction. By having a system like this, whether you have suppressed or unsuppressed, you're able to custom tune to the environment. Again, your environment makes a big difference on your pressures. If you're in the winter time, you have very Arctic conditions, and your rifle was zeroed. In the summertime, you have different port pressures and chamber pressures just due to the chemical reaction of the propellants when they burn in the in a cold environment. Suppressed, you're overgassing your system. So if you're going to use a suppressor, this now will enable you to dial that down so you can fire a suppressor without damaging the rifle. You can tune that right down. But the most important thing is with this weapon system and anyone like it, you have to know how to use it. Once you understand how this gas valve works and how you adjust it, you and this rifle, or you and a FAL, you're going to get along quite well. You don't just open these things up to the largest position, because again, you're gonna damage the weapon. You're gonna decrease the life cycle of the parts. You're gonna eventually have failures to extract, failures to eject. So that's probably the most important thing that I want to bring to you about this particular weapon system. You have to learn to use the valve. Once you know how to use that, you're going to get along really, really well. But while we're looking at a barrel, this particular barrel is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor with a 1 turn and 8-inch twist. This is a muzzle brake designed by Armament. So what we have here is, in the rifle, we have a 7.62 millimeter barrel. This is a little layer profile barrel. It's chambered in 308. To swap out to 6.5 Creedmoor, all I'm going to be doing is taking a Allen key, adjusting this screw, sliding that barrel out, sliding the new one in, tightening that back down, hand tight with this key, and we're good to go. Other than adjusting the gas valves for the individual caliber, that's all there is to it. When you start disassembling the rifle, we're going to go over how all this stuff works. These barrels are not chrome plated. These are stainless steel barrels. These are designed for precision shooting. And from my experience so far with these things are quite accurate. They're very good, very high quality barrels. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start from the muzzle to rear, and once we get to the upper receiver, we're going to show you how the barrel change all works. So let's take a look. First, looking at the stock we have here. We have a fully adjustable stock, which is also side folding. Now, this stock was designed by Robertson Armament. There are some who didn't like it. In fact, I thought when I first saw this, I wasn't going to like it either because it didn't seem like it was sturdy. But I have to say, once I got a hold of it, this thing was as solid as can be. It provided you with probably one of the longest pulls available on any stock I've seen thus far. We also have the side folding action of the stock. As you can see, when this stock side folds, it does not interfere with the ejection port, so you can theoretically fire it this way. I don't know why you would. Really where this comes into play is if you're mounted or in a vehicle, it's a little easier to stow, and then it's very easy to re-engage, and you're back at it. Now, another thing I want to make very clear, although this has some appearance of an AR-15, it is not. There are no parts on this rifle that are compatible, really, other than the pistol grip. Other than that, everything else is proprietary to this design. We're going to take a look at some of the internals of this. But first, we're going to look at an ambidextrous selector. We have an ambidextrous bolt release. And we have an ambidextrous magazine release as well. So what we have is a full ambidextrous safety, magazine release, and bolt release. The cocking lever is on the left side, as you can see as well. Now the way this is located, it's very easy to locate with your face still on the stock. So unlike the AR, you don't have to pull back here. You're able to work it from here. Now, like any rifle that utilizes a bolt catch, I do not use a cocking handle except for to lock the bolt open on for the first magazine to be inserted. After that, everything is done with a bolt catch. So for me, the location of the charging handle does not really make a difference. But this is, I have to admit, a little bit nicer due to the fact that you can keep your cheek right on the stock and you can manipulate it. Magazines. The magazines utilized in this rifle are the standard SR25 type, AR-10 type magazines. I've used several different ones in it. This is an IWI magazine, and of course the PMags. I've also used C Products Defense in here. I've used some of the prototype of the Hex Mags, and I've used some of the DPMS magazines and some of the Brownells steel magazines. And this rifle has taken everything without a problem. It has shot every magazine, locked back on the last shot. I've shot both 7.62 as well as the 6.5 Creedmoor. It's been utterly reliable. What we're going to do is we're going to take this thing apart and we're going to start taking a look at some of the inside. For disassembly, we have a latch that we're going to push inward, and it's going to break open like an AR-15. We remove the pivot pin, And we're going to take a look at the lower receiver first. As you can see, made from a billet 775 T6 aircraft aluminum. Now, the trigger mechanism is what we're really going to take a look at here. I'm going to try to get some close-ups of this. This is not an AR-15 type trigger by no means. This probably has a lot more AK to it. And I have to say, one of the things that really stood out to me on this rifle is this trigger. Actually, on both the L and the M versions. This trigger has far better feel to it than any stock mil-spec AR trigger that I have ever shot. The trigger on here is what you would consider the military grade. It's not, there's no Geisley or anything like that. This is a proprietary trigger mechanism. But the way that everything grabs on it, this is probably one of the nicest out-of-the-box triggers I have ever felt. Now, you may look at this as being a proprietary gun as being a bad thing. One of the things that's always scary about anytime you buy anything proprietary is if the companies ever go out of business, you're not going to have any kind of support for them. And, that's a legitimate concern. It's not one that really has ever driven me. I tend to like a lot of different types of firearms. But I have to say, the durability and reliability that these things show is pretty incredible. The trigger is definitely worth mentioning. If you see the safety, you have the same size on both sides. And it's it's a 45-degree angle. Up here you can see the bolt catch. Now this is again ambidextrous, both sides. Lifts up and pull down. And you can see the MB magazine release on the side here as well. Fit and finish are beautiful. You see no machining marks in here whatsoever. It's very, very impressive. The lower receiver, if you decide you don't like this stock, there is an adapter where you can go to more of an AR-15 type tubular stock, so you can use all the standard AR stocks. And please don't let Alex Robinson know, but they do have a SCAR type stock on this as well. He doesn't like that too much, but they do even have a SCAR stock that will fit on this. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the bolt mechanism. Okay, looking at the system as we see here, this is a long stroke tappet. This has a valve up on the front here. As you can see, it appears more that of an AK, but if you look at the way the bolt mechanism is, this is not an AR type bolt mechanism. That looks more like an AK type bolt. Bolt slides right out, and your firing pin is stationary in there. Now you have a firing pin retaining pin, as you see right here, and we're going to pull this apart so you can see how all the parts are on it. Pulls that right out like so. There's your firing pin. You have a rubber piece on here that covers it. Now this is really all there is to it. There's nothing else that you're going to disassemble on here for regular cleaning. Now, I imagine you will see at some point additional calibers coming out where you may need to change out the firing pin or change out the bolt. All the cartridges that are out right now are based off of the 308 cartridge case, so right now there's no need to have any additional bolts or firing pins, but who knows what we're going to come up with next. They're always working on additional calibers. So for reassembly, you want to make sure that you have the notch, this cut, facing upward. Want to make sure that's aligned properly. And you're going to insert the large head from the left side. And again, the bolt, you can see the cam pin. You can see the cam slot here. Goes in like so. And the carrier just sits right on top like so. And that's all there is to it. The recoil spring you can remove it. Very heavy duty recoil spring. Now we're going to take a look at the receiver itself. Again, we have the gas valve. You depress the detent pin and you can rotate. Obviously, your right's going to close it, left is going to open it up. This particular receiver is based off of the key mod. They've made M-Lock, they've made M1913 rail. I really like this rifle. I'm probably going to keep it, and I'm probably going to trade it in for a 1913 rail. You guys have asked me a lot of what I thought between key mod and M-Lock. I basically had always said, same way you get to the same place, no big deal. However, I'm recanting that now. I've had a lot more experience recently with both systems, and I've come to say that I like the M-Lock a lot better. And the main reason is these rail segments, for me, every one I've ever had is very difficult to install and to take out. It's a complete pain in the ass. So I don't have that same experience with the M-Lock. So I definitely would say that I prefer the M-Lock myself. It's easier to use, it's easier to install, easier to remove. It's not nearly as difficult. So yeah, I definitely have recanted that with just more experience. The sights I have on here are the Magpul Pro. They're very low profile. This did not come with these. I put these on front, and you can see the rear. And while I got this up, I've been doing a lot of work with SIG scopes recently. SIG is a very good supporter of my channel, and then they do provide me with stuff when I ask for stuff, including ammunition and optics and guns. They're very good to me in that way. So I've had a lot of use for some longer range scopes, so I've gotten some of their sample scopes to test. And I have to say the SIG scopes are incredible. This is a 4x16 on a Geisley mount. Geisley probably the finest mounts in the industry. Bill Geisley's also been a really good supporter of my writing as well as my YouTube channel, so I definitely want to say thanks to him as well. The optics are very clear. You do have illumination in here, elevation windage drums. It does come with these kind of caps as well, very clear. This is the model Tango 4. You'll see throughout my videos, you'll see a lot of different SIG optics in use. This is one I tend to be liking right now for some of the longer range. Let's take a look at the barrel assembly now. If I was to want to change out the barrel, as you can see, we're going to be using an Allen key. You want to use the larger one like this. You don't want to use the smaller ones because you need to get the leverage for when you tighten it down. I have never had this come loose on me during testing. So we're going to back that out. That should be enough for that to slide right out. Okay. And here we have the 7.62 millimeter barrel. As you can see, they both use more of a mid-length gas system. Taking a look, Robinson's Armament decided to put on muzzle brakes on these, which these are more designed, I think, to be more of a precision rifle than an assault rifle. So I have to say that going with the muzzle brakes, it does a great job. It does a great job of decreasing recoil. Exactly what it's supposed to do, but there's a flip side. It also massively increases the muzzle blast. Now, depending on your perspective, you may want the recoil reduction, or you may be more concerned about the flash and the noise. I'm more concerned about flash and noise, because these things do work as a sound enhancer and also fireballs. So, I would tend to want to replace these with flash suppressors, probably more along the line of the Smith Enterprises Vortex. Now, the two calibers that I chose to test this rifle in were the 7.62 NATO and the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, the 6.5 Creedmoor is a cartridge I have become to really, really appreciate. The flat trajectory, the use of the 6mm projectile, the accuracy, I just tend to think it is an excellent cartridge. In fact, our military now is looking at it as a potential long-range cartridge as well. And in my opinion, I think that's a good way to go. I think there would be an excellent replacement for the 7.62 because it does a lot that the 7.62 cannot do. Definitely more effective as a man stopper with a smaller weight, higher velocity projectile. The aerodynamics of that projectile are incredible as well. I think that you could take any military type rifle that's in this and easily convert it by just swapping out the barrel. You look at any M110 or any kind of a semi-automatic rifle, swap the barrel out, the rest of the mechanism is good to go. Even machine guns, if you were to look to go with this as a belt-fed machine gun in this caliber, it's the same thing. You swap out the barrels on the 7.62s, it's good to go. Be a very easy conversion. The cartridge would have to be militarized. You would have to have your precision load like you see here, which is the Hornady AMAX, versus a military cartridge like a Full Metal Jacket, which would be easy enough to do. But I think the military would definitely benefit from having that type of a cartridge over the 7.62. Much more modernized, more effective. For reassembly, I'm going to reassemble it with the 6.5 Creedmoor barrel. Now this is going to go in a little bit tight because the rail segments that are on this key mod, they had to be custom made so the barrel could slide in and out, and sometimes things can get a little on the tight side. So we'll see how she goes, but it worked out good. Right into place. So now we have the barrel in place, and now I'm just going to tighten down. Again, you want to use a T-wrench that's this big so you can get the proper torque on it. And now we've gone from a 7.62 rifle to a 6.5 Creedmoor. Reassembly of the bolt carrier group. Now, speaking with Alex Robinson, he definitely wanted to go with this just because of the reliability issues that he saw with the direct gas systems. So he felt the long stroke recoil system was a much better way to go on a carrier, which is why he went with this design instead of going with the direct gas. He wanted to build a very strong overbuilt mechanism, and I definitely say this is definitely a strong overbuilt mechanism. We hold like so. We slide into the receiver. Just like so. Take our lower receiver just like an AR-15. And we're going to insert the front pivot pin. Then when we reassemble, we rotate the plunge lever to the side so it fits into the notch. Hold it in place. Now we have a 6.5 Creedmoor caliber rifle. I do believe this rifle is probably one of the best kept secrets in the industry. I think what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the range and we're going to shoot. We're also going to show you at the range converting back over from 6.5 Creedmoor back over to 7.62. And we're going to fire several magazines in both calibers so you can see the very easily interchangeability and reliability that these have. I believe that the XCR systems are probably some of the most best kept secrets in the industry. Many people don't like to look at small companies. They like to only go to the big companies. And the reality is in this industry today, is my opinion, that most of the innovation is coming from the smaller companies. You're not seeing it coming from the big companies like you used to. The out-of-box thinking is coming from the companies, such as Magpul, such as Robinson Armament, Lewis Machine and Tool. You have people who aren't afraid to step out of the box. It's the way things have always been done. And looking at a rifle like this is somebody who's taken the whole concept of an assault rifle, reworked it to their own specifications and their own way of thinking. And this rifle here is getting interest. It's getting interest in the Czech Republic as a potential sharpshooter rifle, which says a lot. You're going for military contracts. Smaller companies, it's harder for them to get into military contracts for a couple of reasons. One, the capital it takes to invest in foreign sales, which a lot of small companies don't have. The expertise in international arms trade, which is something else a lot of these companies don't have, and the sheer cost of going to these countries and being involved in weapons replacement programs. So it's difficult. I do believe the Czech Republic is the first one for Robinson Armament, and I do imagine you're going to start seeing these guys a little bit more in the international market. Another thing with the smaller companies, they don't have the production capability to do large numbers as some of the bigger ones do. But as companies grow, they do develop those capabilities. So some of the companies that you see now, who you may not think of being viable competition in the international business, very well may see that come to a change with some of these more advanced designs from some of the smaller companies. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do encourage you to go back to the old video and take a look at the video on the XCR-L on the 5.56 version. If you enjoyed this, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.